You are standing on the corner of Broad and Wall Street at 6:47 in the morning. The sun hasn't fully cleared the buildings yet. The shadows are long and cold, and the wind comes off the Hudson like it has somewhere to be. Around you, men and women in suits that cost more than most people's monthly rent are already moving, already on their phones, already making decisions that will ripple into the lives of people who will never know their names. You don't know it yet, but this street will either make you or hollow you out, sometimes both, sometimes in the same week. This is Wall Street, not the movie, not the myth, the actual thing. And today you're going to live every level of it, from the bottom of the food chain all the way to the top, and find out what it really costs to get there. Level 1, the analyst. You're 22 years old and you haven't slept in 2 days. Your desk is in a row of identical desks on the 31st floor of a building you still can't believe you work in. You went to a good school, like a great school, and you finished in the top 10% of your class, and you interviewed 6 times, and now you're here. Investment banking analyst, first year. The salary is $110,000, and it sounds like a fortune until you realize you're working 100 hours a week, which means you're making roughly the same per hour as a competent electrician. But nobody becomes a banker for the hourly rates. Your job is to build financial models in Excel, spreadsheets that project how much a company will be worth in 5 years, 10 years, under 50 different scenarios. You build decks, PowerPoint presentations called pitch books that your superiors will present to clients who will barely glance at them. You spend 14 hours on a single slide because the font was wrong. You spend 3 hours fixing a logo that printed at the wrong resolution. You eat dinner at your desk every night. Whatever the junior associate orders for the team, usually from a place that's still open at 10 p.m., you keep a toothbrush in your desk drawer and a change of clothes in your locker because sometimes you don't go home. You sleep on the couch in the break room for 3 hours and wake up before anyone senior arrives and splash water on your face and pretend you're fine. You are not fine. Your phone rings at midnight on a Saturday. It's your VP. The model you sent at 11 p.m. has an error, not a calculation error, a formatting error. The columns don't align on page 4 when printed. He wants it fixed and resent in 20 minutes. You fix it, you send it. He replies with a single period. You don't cry, you're too tired to cry. But somewhere in the middle of all this, something shifts. You start to see it. The actual shape of the financial world. How a leveraged buyout works. Why a company's stock price moves when a competitor sneezes, how debt gets packaged and sold and repackaged. The models stop being numbers and start being logic, and you realize you're learning faster than you ever did in school because the cost of being wrong here is real. You survive your first year. A lot of people don't. The guy who sat to your left quit in October. The woman who sat to your right had a panic attack in the bathroom and took a leave of absence. You're still here. That counts for something on this street. Level 2, the associate. You did 2 years as an analyst, then left for business school, came back with an MBA, and now you're an associate. The pay jumped to $200,000 base plus bonus. The title sounds better. The reality is that you're still mostly managing analysts and building models, except now you're also managing up, translating what the VPs want into instructions the analysts can execute, and translating what the analysts produce into something the VPs won't throw back at you. You are the middle layer. You absorb pressure from both directions. You manage the pitch process now. When the bank is competing for a deal, trying to win the right to advise a company on a merger or an acquisition, you run the team that puts together the pitch. You work through the weekend. You coordinate across 4 departments. You sleep 4 hours a night for 10 days straight and present to a client on a Tuesday morning like you've been rested for a week. Sometimes you win the pitch, sometimes you don't. When you don't, nobody says anything. You just start the next one. Your personal life has a shape to it now, but it's a strange shape. You have a partner who has learned to eat dinner alone most nights. You have an apartment you barely see in daylight. You have friends from business school who work normal jobs and don't understand why you look like you do at dinner on the rare Saturday nights you can make it. You've stopped explaining. The money is real now. You feel it. You're paying down your student loans ahead of schedule. You upgraded your apartment. You bought a watch, not a flashy one, but a good one. The kind that says you've arrived somewhere without announcing it. But you know the truth. You haven't arrived. You're still proving yourself. You're still one bad deal away from a review that quietly ends your trajectory. The associate who can't cut it gets pushed sideways into a less visible role and slowly fades. You've seen it happen. You make sure it doesn't happen to you. Level 3, the vice president. You made VP in your 4th year as an associate. Not everyone does. Some people wait longer, some people never make it. At VP, something changes. For the first time, you have real client contact. You're in the room, you're speaking, not just taking notes. When the managing director turns to you and says, walk them through the valuation, you walk them through the valuation. The client looks at you, they ask you questions, you answer them. This is what you work toward, this is the feeling. You manage deals now, not just decks. A deal means months of work, due diligence, negotiation, regulatory approval, legal documentation, client handholding. A mid-sized acquisition might have 200 people working on it across multiple firms. You're coordinating your piece of that machine. When something goes wrong at 11 p.m. 2 weeks before closing, you're the one who gets the call and figures out how to fix it before morning. You're making $400,000 in a good year. It sounds obscene. And yet you are acutely aware that the managing directors above you make 2, 3, 5 times that. You are aware of this every day. The lifestyle creep is real and it happened without you noticing. Your apartment is nicer. Your vacations are expensive. Your children, if you have them, go to private school because the public option feels impossible to navigate while working the hours you work. You need a cleaner, a dog walker, a person who handles the dry cleaning because none of it gets done otherwise. The $400,000 is spoken for before it lands. And the hours haven't really changed. The thing nobody tells you is that they never really change. You thought seniority meant freedom. It means different pressure. It means being responsible for outcomes instead of just outputs. It means the client calls you directly, which sounds like progress until the client calls you at 7 a.m. on Christmas morning with a question that can't wait. Level 4, the managing director, MD, 2 letters that took 15 years to earn. You have a book of business now. That's the phrase, a book of business. It means clients who call you first. Relationships you've built over a decade that generate fees. When your bank pitches for a deal, you're the reason the client takes the meeting. Your name opens doors that the institution alone cannot open. You are no longer a cost center, you are a revenue generator. That distinction is everything on this street. Your compensation is largely bonus driven now. Your base might be $500,000, but your total package in a strong year could be $2 million, $3 million, paid partly in deferred stock that vests over 3 years, so you can't leave too easily. The bank owns a piece of your future, and you both know it. You work differently than you used to. You don't build models. You don't check formatting. You have people for that. Like what you do is relationships, lunches, dinners, drinks, golf games, conference panels, charity galas. Your job is to be present in the rooms where decisions are made so that when a CEO needs an advisor, your face is the one they see first. It sounds easier. It isn't. It's a different kind of exhausting. You're always on, always performing a version of yourself that is confident and authoritative and relaxed in a way that takes enormous energy to maintain. Every dinner is an audition. Every conversation is a potential deal. You stop having interactions that aren't transactional in some way, and eventually you stop noticing that you stopped. You have a good life by any measure that a person outside this building would recognize. The house, the school, the vacations, the car, the stability, but you watch the partners above you and you know. You're not there yet. You're still not there. Level 5, the partner/senior. At this level, the firm belongs to you in a way it didn't before. You carry equity, ownership. When the firm has a good year, you have a very good year. When it has a great year, the number on your statement doesn't look real. 7 figures and a bonus that arrives in February and changes the arithmetic of your life permanently. You sit on committees, you vote on strategy, who gets promoted to MD, which businesses the firm invests in, which clients are worth chasing, and which aren't worth the risk. The decisions you make don't ripple out. They cascade. Your network is the job now. You know CEOs on a first name basis. You know the CFO of every major company in your sector. You get calls from private equity firms who want your opinion before they move. You consult, formally or otherwise, on transactions worth billions. Your judgment is the product you sell. You have everything you wanted when you were 22 years old staring at a spreadsheet at midnight. The money is generational now, like the kind that changes not just your life, but your children's lives and their children's lives. You bought a house, a real house, and a weekend place, and you're thinking about the south of France because why not? Something else is true that doesn't make it into the profile pieces in the financial press. You miss things. Not metaphorically, actually miss them. Games and recitals and birthdays and anniversaries. Your kids are older now, and some of them are fine, and some of them are quietly angry in a way they'll work out in therapy in their 30s. Like your marriage either survived the decades of this job because it was built on something real, or didn't survive at all. You are at the top of a structure that consumes people the way a machine consumes fuel. You burned, you produced. The machine kept running. Level 6, the hedge fund titan. You left the bank 12 years ago. It felt like jumping off a cliff. It felt like the best decision you ever made. You run your own fund now. $20 billion in assets under management. The mathematics of this are almost impossible to hold in your head. 2% management fee means $400 million a year just to run the place before performance. When you're up 20% in a year, the performance fee alone is staggering. You are not an employee anymore. You are the institution. The pressure is different here. Cleaner in some ways, more savage in others. At a bank, a bad year means a lower bonus and a difficult review. At a fund, a bad year means investors pull their money and your fund shrinks, and if it shrinks enough, the whole structure becomes unviable. There are no bailouts at this level. The market is the judge, and the sentence is immediate. You have a research team, traders, risk managers, quants who build models more complex than anything you touched as an analyst. You read everything. You know more about certain industries than the CEOs running them. When you take a position on a company, you've spent months building the thesis. You know the supply chain, the competitive dynamics, the regulatory environment, the management team's incentives. Sometimes you're right. And the trade makes $800 million in 6 months. Sometimes you're wrong. And the trade loses $400 million in 3 weeks, and you go home and sit in a room that costs more than most people's annual salary and stare at the wall for an hour before you figure out what to do next. This is the game at its purest. No clients to manage, no politics to navigate. Just you, your team, your capital, and the market. The market has no feelings about you. The market doesn't care about your track record or your reputation or the 15 years you spent climbing. The market simply is, and you are simply right or wrong. You are one of the best in the world at this. You have to be. This level has no room for merely good. Level 7, the ghost. You're 61 years old and you don't need to work anymore. You haven't needed to work in a long time, honestly. But you do, because the alternative is a question you're not ready to answer. What are you without this? Who are you when the market is closed and nobody needs your call? You sit on boards. You advise governments. When a sovereign wealth fund in the Gulf needs to restructure its portfolio, they fly to New York to have dinner with you. When a central bank wants an outside perspective on monetary policy, your name is on the short list. You have moved beyond the market into something above it, a vantage point from which the entire financial system is visible in a way it isn't to the people still inside it. You've watched crises come and go. The dot-com collapse, 2008, COVID, each one looked like the end to the people living through it. To you, they looked like cycles. Markets crash, markets recover. The people who stayed liquid and brave bought the dip, and the people who panicked sold at the bottom, and that has been true every time for as long as markets have existed. You have a foundation. Your name is on a building at a university. The philanthropy is real. Not a tax strategy, but something that came later, when you'd had enough years to look back at the machine you'd been part of and feel the weight of it. Because here's the thing that the books don't tell you and the profiles don't print. You made your money in a system that moves capital and creates efficiency, and that is genuinely valuable. And you also made your money in a system that is not always just, that is not always fair, that rewards certain kinds of intelligence and certain kinds of ruthlessness and certain kinds of privilege at scales that are very hard to justify when you look at them. Honestly, you've had that conversation with yourself. Late, but you've had it. You think about the analysts who burned out in year one and never came back, the associates who lost their marriages to the hours, the traders whose funds collapsed and who never really recovered, the people who played by the same rules you played by and lost, not because they were less talented, but because they were unlucky or because the market moved against them once at the wrong moment. And this game does not offer second chances the way other games do. You think about the kid standing on the corner of Broad and Wall right now, 22 years old, looking up at the buildings, about to walk through a door that will change everything. You want to tell them it's worth it, and in some ways it is. The education you receive in those first years is real. The discipline, the rigor, the ability to work under pressure and make decisions with incomplete information, those things transfer. Those things are real. But you also know what it costs, and you know that the cost is not evenly distributed. The people who make it to the top are not simply the best or the hardest working. They are the ones who are willing to pay a price that most people don't realize they're agreeing to when they sign the offer letter. This street takes everything you give it. It will take your 20s without apology. It will take your 30s while convincing you the sacrifice is temporary. By the time you're in your 40s, you realize the sacrifice was never temporary. Like, it was the whole arrangement. And some people think that's worth it. And some people get to the other side and decide it was. And some people get to the other side and sit in a room that money built and feel a particular kind of quiet that has nothing to do with peace. The markets open at 9:30 a.m. The cycle continues.